Hey, everybody. I thought I'd read today to you from my book, An Uncommon Bond, just to maybe distract you a little from the pandemic, all these overwhelming feelings, pull you into a different consciousness, a more relational consciousness at a moment when it's hard to be in relationship to people. I wrote Bond in 2015. I'd had a love experience in 1998 that really rattled me and really expanded me and really transformed my lens on everything. And in many ways is the thing that forced me to do the deeper levels of healing that then led to my beginning to write my first book, Soul Shaping. I had a pretty clear sense that I was going to write three longer books, or that there was like three longer books were mandatory within my own calling. Soul Shaping was the first one. And then I wasn't sure if I was going to write An Uncommon Bond or Grounded Spirituality next. They were the next two. And I began actually to write them both. And then a friend of mine really suggested that I should just focus on one at a time. And Bond was the one more ready to be written. I still had some work to do before I could really write Grounded the way I wanted to. So I wrote it. And Soul Shaping took so long to write, and Bond really didn't. It was just sitting inside of me. And partly because in 1998 I'd had this profound experience that had transformed so much of my consciousness. I wrote my master's thesis at Saybrook about it, on an uncommon bond, or on uncommon bonds, which was I think a Virginia Hine term that Jeannie Ochterberg, my professor, was writing around at the time. So it was all very synchronistic that I happened to be at Saybrook at that time and did my master's under Jean. So I was, internally already really connected to the material, but I hadn't really found the kind of poetic language, and I needed some time to sort through the challenges that came up in the ecstatic union, the agony of it, the impossibility of it, and the possibility of it. So I'm going to read a few parts to you. If you're somebody who is longing for profound love, this is a great book for you. If you're someone who has suffered in the heart of profound love and still wants to make sense of whatever the fuck happened, An Uncommon Bond is a great book for you. It's done extremely well. It continues to do extremely well, because I think that it doesn't present a falsified version of um, ecstatic union. It really portrays it in its savagery, and in all of that which comes up in the heart of it. So let me do a little reading for you. Um, so I'm going to read there's a page near the beginning that I had planted in the book that just sort of sets the stage for the book. So I'll read that to you first, and then I want to read a particular passage that I'll contextualize in a moment. Quote, I met her when I most expected it. I felt Sarah entering my heart weeks before we met in real time. She was quietly everywhere. A distant flute, a subtle shift in wind direction, a whisper of longing that called me home. I felt her in my bones, in my breath, in the sudden and inexplicable lifting of my weary spirit. She was orbiting me, close at heart, eagerly awaiting our cosmic reacquaintance. Let there be no doubt. All love connections are not created equal. Some bonds are simply practical. Others are blindly rooted in pathology and old traumas. Still others are opportunities to heal and have essential needs finally met. And some have a mystical quality from the first meeting, pure and simple, apparent from the first outbreath, unmistakably sacred, God rising on the wings of their love. This is how the timely and the timeless become indistinguishable, when love meets God deep in the heart's inner temple. Does this sound insane? If it does, that's okay. Great love is the most exquisite kind of madness, an asylum of delight. Enter its gates, and divinity rises into view. Like all synchronistic delights, it's only madness until it happens to you. Close quote. You know what I'm talking about? It's the way it goes. So here is the portion I want to read from page 104. So the context for it is that the character Lowen meets a woman named Sarah, all kinds of synchronicity. And he's at a stage in his life where he interprets synchronicity or serendipity always as a good thing. Of course, it isn't always. I mean, we can always spot synchronicities, we just don't know if they're good for us. You come to learn that over time. And as part of his figuring out what's going on in the heart of this profound and challenging connection, he encounters kind of a homeless guy, really a houseless guy, because he really has found his home within himself, named Dude. Was an American guy who somehow found his way into Kensington Market, real cool part of downtown Toronto, and I grew up in Toronto. The book's set in Toronto. And so he meets this guy now and then on the street, and he just sort of talks to him. And Dude's kind of like Rumi, you know? It's a scene later in the book where he pulls out he just kind of reads from Rumi. He's kind of like, he feels like he is Rumi or something. He's got his issues, but he's got great wisdom at the same time. So this is just one of these interactions in the heart of a real challenging phase right after a chapter called Dark Night of the Soulmate. Okay, you get it? So just read that to you, just give you a real feeling for this. And then later on, he encounters Dude at different stages. It's all part of moving him along to the next stage of making sense of what seems like an utterly impossible thing. And I should also mention that that's me and my wife, Susan Freiborg, on the cover of the book. And in the book, there's a number of really beautiful poetic writings from Sarah to Lowen, which with her permission, I was allowed to use. There are actually things that she wrote me in our real-time courtship. So it's the story weaves through my life and her life, and fictional characters that are not entirely fictional in certain ways, and it's really something. Anyway, okay, so this is from chapter 10. It's called Holy Ship, Holey, because there's lots of holes in the ship. I lay down to nap, but I was too rattled. It confused me to no end how this depth of love could arise with so much hostility in its wake. It didn't take a genius to make the connection between my triggers and my early life experiences. But sometimes the pain felt so foreign to me, like we had walked right into someone else's nightmare. Had we? Where exactly is the line between one love story and another? Despite the challenges, I had gone too far from shore to turn back now. My love for her filled the spinnaker of my heart. Did I say that right? Carrying me from placid sea to raging torrent, then back again. Even if I wanted to turn back, where would I go? She was both my ocean and the ship I traveled on. I had to stay the course. We spoke on the phone, but there was a tension that just wouldn't dissipate. I did everything I could to wrestle it to the ground, but it just hung there like an ominous cloud that won't move until it rains. If ever we needed the support of someone who had walked this love path before, it was now. On the way back home from work one day, I saw a dude sitting in an outdoor cafe, sipping a tall dark one. He motioned me to come over. Sit down, man. How you doodin'? How you doodin'? You need to take a load off your mind. Got that right, I replied, sitting myself down across from him. Why so sullen? Lover got your tongue? Kind of. She left me for another break. Too many fights. Gotta clear the runway or the plane can't land. You guys want to take off or land? I ordered a beer from the waiter and sat quietly for a few minutes, pondering his strange question. We both asked for this love, I said at last. The universe delivered. I just don't understand why it has to be so painful. Dude didn't waste any time replying. The ladder to heaven is made from broken rungs. You got that? Let me spell it out for you. The ladder, I cut him off. I can spell. Because he spelled it out. The universe delivers what people need to grow, man. It don't care what you ask for. Maybe it brought you together to teach you something. Maybe you already got the gift. It's not feeling like much of a gift. Look, love is lawless, unruly, chaotic, radical. It ain't subtle and smooth. It can't be tamed or controlled. Forget about it. It's a cosmic tornado that sucks you up and drops you to the ground when it's done with you. Nothing will ever be the same. Nothing. If you can't handle heights, you won't last a minute. Then he noisily slurped down his beer and continued, look, kid, I'm going to tell you again. The higher the mountain, the deeper the valley. How many metaphors do you need before you get it? He dug for his pocket watch, then quickly got up to go. I forgot, I got a rock. I'm late for the 3 o'clock donut bake. I like my powdered cinnamon warm. He was a donut lover like me. Before he got to the other side of Baldwin Street, he turned my way to give me one more dude bit of sagely advice. Keep the faith, and the faith will keep you. Then he picked up his pace and raced off in the direction of deep fried wheat. When he'd faded from view, I noticed he had left his $15 bar bill behind. Seems a reasonable price to pay for such a cornucopia of wisdom. I finished my beer and walked home with a sudden shot of optimism. Something about Dude's presence always lightened my mood. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I imagined. Maybe Sarah and I were doing exactly what Providence intended, opening, retreating, and consolidating growth, then expanding outward yet again, into defenses, below defenses, into defenses, below defenses. Each opening guided by grace, each closing prevented from permanence by providence, reminding us with the feel of our Persian cat against our ankle, or a feather falling from the sky at an opportune moment, that we were only to separate for a brief moment before returning to each other for another try. Maybe. That's a little bit of a schmaltzy section from An Uncommon Bond. Dude is not always that schmaltzy. So I think I'll leave it at that. If you're interested, Bond's on Amazon, always. The paperback and Kindle version. And it's out there. Bookstores have it, or they can order it. There's an audio version that I didn't record the audio version, but a super sexy guy did. People really like it on Audible. So if you want to check it out, you can find it there as well. And I'll be back to read a couple more sections this week from An Uncommon Bond. Hope you're having an okay day. Bye.